Hey everyone, what's up? I hope you are doing well. Today we're going to be talking about your ego, your mindset, and how you perceive the world. I think when you start your spiritual journey, which means that you're awake, and being awake just means that everything that you see isn't what it seems. Everything is different. You're living your life based on limiting beliefs, things that your subconscious mind at a very young age formed a conclusion about, an experience from the past, what people told you, what you saw, everything like that. And you're living your life based on these limiting beliefs. And you wake up one day and you're like, you know what? I'm kind of over this. I'm not living my best life. I'm living my life based on someone else's idea of me, their version of me, what they want me to be. I'm not being my authentic self. So part of the spiritual journey is you are letting go of this person, the person that you're not, who isn't you. You're letting go of this made up person and you're starting the process of becoming your authentic self. To me, that is what a spiritual awakening is. And in a spiritual awakening, people always talk about the death of the ego. You know, you have to kill off your ego. Which, okay, you got, like, I get the ego is very protective and can form insane defense mechanisms, but we don't want to kill it off. All that means is that we are learning to live with the ego, understanding its quirks, its personality, it's just who it is. And so we become aware and we can recognize when the ego is just afraid and trying to protect you. So what I wanted to talk about is how we form these beliefs and why we, maybe not how we form these, but yeah, maybe how we form these beliefs. We'll see what happens. I just felt the need to record, so here we are. And how the ego is very protective and how you get these random symptoms in your body and these defense mechanisms. So whenever you have an experience from your past, whether you got hurt mentally, emotionally, or physically, your subconscious mind remembers, your ego remembers, and it's like, whoa, you did not feel good when this happened. You had an emotional response. You were either it was a second you felt this emotional response and you felt hurt, or maybe it was a breakup and you felt this for months. We're not going to experience this again. So we are going to create defense mechanisms of self-sabotage, anger, avoidance. I can't think of any more. So whichever one, whatever's unique to you, so we don't experience this again. So what does this look like? This can be any emotion, idea, or physical element. So let's do with the basic ones. When we're kids, you put your hand on a stove and the stove's on. It hurts like a mother, okay? Ow, fire bad. I don't want to play with fire. So we instantly form a belief that fire is bad. It hurts. Fire's bad. And so whenever we come into contact with the stove, maybe that stove, we get an emotional response of fear, like what, is it on? Is the stove on? Like, I don't want to get burnt again. I don't want to get hurt. Maybe if it was traumatic for you, you're afraid of fire. Really, whatever the ego decides you're afraid of, or how your emotional response it's going to create the proper stress responses, emotional responses unique to you. But let's just say that you're afraid to go around the stove. It hurt you, but you're not traumatized. You're not afraid of fire. So whenever you are near that stove, or you are going to have to turn the stove on, maybe when you get older and you know how to use it, you have a little bit of anxiety. It doesn't necessarily prevent you from using the stove, but maybe you're just hesitant, like you stop breathing, you have that fight or flight freeze response, and you're very careful. And over time, by using the stove over and over again, you realize, okay, it's a one and done, I'm just being careful. So that's similar to whether you experience a heartbreak or some emotional event. If you were vulnerable and you got rejected, and oh, did it hurt? If it hurt, your ego is like, never again. You are dead to me. This emotion is unavailable for us. We're never being vulnerable again. So whenever you come into contact with the possibility of being vulnerable, your ego is going to create those stress responses, and they're not healthy. I don't know why. It does everything in its power to get you out of there. So you want to be vulnerable with someone that you're dating, open and honest with them. Maybe at the beginning you're cool, fine, whatever, but then once you start getting to know the person and you're like, okay, I need to start taking the steps to be more vulnerable and open with them, ego doesn't like it, so you become more guarded. You lash out, you cry more, you're avoidant, you self-sabotage, you run away, you do all these things. Even if you want to be vulnerable, you're going to have those emotional responses because from the past, you got hurt when you were vulnerable. This is stranger danger. This is the equivalent of getting burnt by the stove, fire attacking you. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's physical or non-physical, it's the same thing, and it's going to create those defense mechanisms. So recognizing that, being more aware, like, okay, vulnerability is kind of an issue for me. Let's start working on that. So every time you have an emotional response to something or you start self-sabotaging, you have that fight or flight freeze response, your ego is protecting you from something that happened in the past. And it could be one time or multiple times, it doesn't matter. It could just be a one and done situation and your brain is already rewired. So when you start being more aware of your life, your thoughts, and your body, you're going to realize that your ego is protecting you from a lot of stuff. So my recommendation to you is whenever you have that intense response of anxiety, fear, wanting to run away, de-escalate it immediately as best as you can. I don't want you changing the thought. I don't want you to tell yourself that this is stupid or anything. Start de-escalating. Have you ever told a woman to calm down when she is like at a level 10, like pissed off or upset? No. Unless you want to get punched in the face, you don't say that to someone who is really upset. You can't reason with them because they're so upset, they're so emotional. And this could be with a guy who is getting in a fight with another guy, like he defending his woman, or some ego situation where he called them weak and now he's angry and he's about ready to fight them. You can't tell him to calm down. They don't understand. They're ready to fight and their mind is shut off. So that's why you have to de-escalate. Everything is okay. Everything is working out for me. There's nothing to fear here. You're good. You're calm. You're cool. You're collected. Whatever works for you. For me, that's what worked for me. I am safe and secure. Everything is working out for me. Everything is okay. Everything is okay. So then when you start feeling your ego and your body decreasing, the anxiety, the emotional response, whatever that is to you, whatever your choice of emotion your ego picked for you, once it lowers, you can start asking it questions. Why am I feeling this way? What is my ego trying to protect me from? What about my environment is my ego trying to protect me from? What emotion? What was I about to do? What triggered me from the other person? What didn't I like that they were doing that made me have this response? Was it them treating me like I wasn't good enough? Were they treating me like I was stupid and that's like a big trigger for me? Was it vulnerability? Was it when someone's questioning my integrity or whether or not I'm strong or not? It can be anything. Is this something familiar from a past experience? Maybe it's similar to a trauma that you had or something that was very difficult for you. And once you start becoming aware, you're going to start realizing that a lot of things, the random anxiety that you get is something that your ego is trying to protect you from, and it's similar, and you're in a situation or an environment that is similar to the past environment that caused you a lot of pain. So if we go back to the stove situation, you may have been traumatized by the stove, getting burnt, and you are afraid of the stove. I know some people who are afraid to turn the stove on when it like clicks and it goes like that, freaks them out. That makes them nervous, so they have someone else do it. So that makes you nervous. So maybe outside of that environment, maybe going to a cookout or a a family event where there's a grill, that might make you nervous. You might have anxiety around it, and you're like, why do I have anxiety around a grill? I never touched a grill. I don't even know how to operate a grill. Why am I getting that emotional response? It could be fire. It's very similar to the stove. So you're gonna be you're gonna be dissecting, investigating. You are your own archaeologist, your own Indiana Jones, Amazon warrior assassin, your own detective, whatever you want to call it, your own scientist, and you are uncovering the ego. You are dissecting the ego. You are calming the ego. And over time, you'll be able to notice the build up of anxiety when you are getting close to something your ego wants to protect you from. And when you notice the beginnings of it, like the forming of the emotion, you can catch it quickly and be like, okay, I'm starting to sense that you're getting a little nervous. What's going on here? You de-escalate it, and then you don't have that physical reaction. You don't lash out. But I think it's really important that do not be afraid of your emotions. Everything is feedback. Now, you might not know the meaning of the emotion that you feel, and who cares? But don't suppress it. Feel it in some way. There are so many ways to release emotions. You can go the energy healing route, you can do the EFT tapping, you can do writing it out, journaling. You can visualize the emotion and just sit with it. If you can visualize it, and every time you inhale, you're gathering the emotion. Every time you exhale, you release it. There's so many ways to release emotion. You can meditate. The thing is, you don't want to suppress it because it is just energy and motion. It's gonna find a way to come up. So you either get rid of it now because it wants to leave, or it's gonna be expressed in other ways. So I guess in conclusion, change how you perceive emotions. If you feel a negative emotion, don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. No, that's not how it works. You're not doing anything wrong. You are human. You're going to have a human experience. Emotions are just part of that experience, and it's just learning how to work with them. Once you stop resisting the emotion, it gets easier. You can move on from it. Maybe a couple of days you're feeling, instead of a couple of days of feeling in this emotion, it might be a couple of hours or maybe a couple of minutes, but you had to find what works for you. Many people, like I said, have different ways of releasing emotions. Try them all, see what works. Maybe you have your own unique way of releasing emotions, but do not be afraid of them. Change how you perceive them. For me, what works for me is either my thoughts are getting out of control, I'm not paying attention too much, or my ego is trying to communicate with me. My ego is trying to protect me from something, or I just need to get rid of this emotion. If I can't figure out where this is coming from, and I'm doing really good with my mental diet and paying attention to my body, and I'm just like, I have no idea why I have this emotion. Okay, well then, you know what? I have leveled up so much that my body's like, all right, we can release this emotion. And it has no memory, no information to it. It's just ready to be released because I am becoming stronger, I am leveling up, and I can handle it. This is part of the fun. You're releasing the old version of yourself. So in order to release it, it has to come up. You have to address it and let it go. So I think I'm done. So thank you so much for watching. I intend this made sense and you guys got something out of it. If you have any questions, just leave them in the description box, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.